Hello, hello. On today's episode, I actually am going to be talking to you today about the Healthy, Healed, and Whole workshop that is coming up this Thursday, May 25th at 9:30 a.m. And I want to share this right off the bat because I know y'all are busy, you have lives to get to, and you may not be able to listen to this whole episode. So if you go ahead and click the link in the show notes, you'll be able to register for the event. But this event is really for women who are struggling with anxiety, depression, mood swings, who feel like you're in kind of a torrent of your past, kind of overriding your present and your future. Maybe you've had a lot of trauma, unresolved emotional pain, or you're having emotional reactions to things that you don't understand. This workshop is for you. So, for those of you that don't know or maybe have not listened to my previous episodes, I have recovered from complex PTSD, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety, and depression as a woman who has has had hormone issues in the past. I've also experienced mood swings and PMDD and all of those things that really do affect our mood. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you today is because your health, your mind, your spirit, the health of your body, your emotions, all of that matters to God. If it matters to you, it matters to Him. And sometimes I think that we think as believers that we just have to tolerate the things that we're experiencing. I know for myself, number one, I didn't even know that I had complex PTSD until it all kind of came flooding to the forefront after the birth of my first daughter. But I definitely had unresolved emotional pain that would kind of flare up around my cycle because we know that hormones do cause that fluctuation in neurotransmitters. I didn't really have a strong grasp in the truth and the fact, which was that God was for me in every area of my healing. He wanted my mind to be whole. He wanted my emotions to be whole. He wanted my body to be well. And in a certain way, I'm kind of glad that I didn't know right off the bat how much I would have to work through in order to truly get free, because I think it would have been too daunting for me. To have realized, like, gosh, there's physical roots, there's emotional roots, there's spiritual roots. But what motivated me was really, I wanted to raise my daughter with the healthiest mom possible. And I was seeing patterns of behavior that reminded me of my own emotional abuse growing up. And I just said, this far and no more. I will do whatever I have to do to get healthy, healed, and whole. And that is exactly what this workshop is about. It is about understanding your physiology, the way that God wired you, so that you can master your physiology, so that you can learn how to take care of your body in a way that leads to balanced moods, emotions, and a sound mind. We're also going to be talking about the spiritual elements of your freedom and breakthrough. So addressing spiritual strongholds that do manifest through our emotions. So specifically, familial patterns of rage or anger, or depression or anxiety. Yes, it absolutely has a physical component, but most of the time it also has an emotional and spiritual component. So in this workshop, I'm going to be walking you through how to identify what is the root that God wants to take care of in this season, and then giving you those practical tools so that you know exactly how to address that. So make sure you click the link in the show notes to follow along, and I'm excited to dive into today's episode. Do you struggle with low energy in the morning, afternoon fatigue, and often find yourself grabbing another cup of coffee or soda just to get through the day? If that's you, then you may be doing more harm to your stress hormones, mood, and sleep than you think. While caffeine from coffee gives you a nice boost of energy initially, it depletes your adrenal glands of essential nutrients that are responsible for supporting healthy sleep and stress patterns. This is is why I recommend Rasa Adaptogenic Super Functional Tea. This robust blend of adaptogenic herbs not only gives you sustained energy, it nourishes your adrenal glands, your immune system, and supports lower cortisol, which leads to overall improvement in your nervous system health, balanced mood, and better sleep. This robust blend of herbs actually tastes like coffee, and it comes from the cacao plant, as well as all of those different adaptogenic herbs that are super delicious. You won't even miss your cup of coffee in the morning. Make sure to grab yours for 15% off at wearerasa.com using the code Abundant Wellness with Andrea. You know all about the Healthy, Healed, and Whole workshop. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the work that I do. So, yes, you've heard my name. My name is Andrea Jones. I am a registered nurse. I have almost 18 years of clinical experience at this point, and spent the majority of my working career at the local children's hospital, working with parents, children of all ages, all acuities, meaning everything from your standard, bump and bruise all the way to, the worst injuries imaginable in the pediatric ICU and NICU. Before I moved to nursing education, where I was teaching nursing students how to master their skills, and then at the same time really building my dream business behind the scenes, which was really helping women to thrive physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And that really did start out with just helping women to balance their hormones. So helping them to understand the root causes of their hormone imbalance, why they're having mood swings, why they're having irritability, why they're having fatigue, insomnia, anxiety, you name it. All of that is tied to their hormone health. But then as I got further into my business, I realized that so many of these women were coming to me with a lot of emotional pain, a lot of emotional issues. And I realized that, we really can't heal the hormones unless we're also addressing this other emotional component. And so a lot of women do end up working with me on hormones, and then we end up spending some time either in the Keys to Emotional Freedom coaching group or private coaching in one-on-one sessions, addressing emotional patterns, unresolved emotional pain, unforgiveness, those things that really do keep us stuck in these yucky patterns that don't feel healthy and are not leading us to a place of thriving. And so to me, it's extremely vital to be working with somebody that sees the whole picture, because when I'm talking to somebody, even if somebody's coming to me for an inner healing, ministry time, I am able to pretty quickly discern and see, oh, you know what, this is a hormonal issue. We need to get that addressed. Versus, if it's a true spiritual issue, and then obviously we're going to address that with the right tools, right? Because using the wrong tool for the right problem is going to give you the wrong results. It's not going to give you the results that you're looking for. And so it is vital that, if you're working with somebody on your hormones, your spiritual health, your emotional health, that they have a really good grid for how to navigate you through that. And what really opened my eyes to this actually was working with a naturopath about 12 years ago. I couldn't find a doctor that would help me with my hormones. They all just wanted to put me on hormone replacement therapy, birth control, you name it. I didn't respond well to those, and I knew that there was something wrong in my body. And so I set out to find a physician who would listen to me, and went to this naturopath. And he was the first person that really began to ask me about my life and said, did you have a really stressful childhood? Did you have, were your parents supportive? Like, tell me about that, because some of the patterns that I'm seeing in your physiologic symptoms are actually tied to some unhealed emotions. And so he actually recommended right off the bat that I get my booty in therapy. And I am so glad that he did, because I needed it. I needed the support. I needed to process my past, and I am confident that my body would not have healed as well as it did had I not also addressed the emotional component that I was working through. So it is extremely important that we're working with somebody that can see all of those different facets and address them appropriately. And I also want to say that really, to give you some encouragement or hope, the tools that I learned in that season of, really my life being taken down to the studs and having to look at my emotional patterns and my emotional reactions and my eating patterns and how that was impacting my hormones. It changed the complete trajectory of my life, number one. But it also gave me the tools that I needed for further seasons of healing that I would have to walk through. So in the last several months, I have actually been walking through a different layer of emotional recovery and walking through some stuff from my past that actually came up when I started having some symptoms of a hormone imbalance due to some major stressors that were happening in our life. So the major stressors came in, kind of triggered this hormonal imbalance, and then some old unresolved emotional pain came up with that. And I've realized that I've really leaned on the tools that I learned in that past season to help me to get through the season that I'm currently in, walking through just a different level of emotional recovery. And so the reason that I'm sharing this with you is because our health journey is an ongoing journey. It is not a one and done, especially if you have trauma, especially if you've suffered from emotional abuse, especially if there's a long chronic pattern of chronic stress. All of that really does play a role in our physiology. And I'm learning in a different way now in this season just how much that physiology can trigger old, unhealed stuff. And so, one of the things I would encourage you to do if you're listening today is to begin looking at your healing journey as not just something that we're going to fix once. Yes, you're going to learn the tools and you're going to recover and you're going to heal, but those tools that you learn, if they're healthy, if they're sustainable, if they're focusing on the root causes, will serve you for the rest of your life. And meaning that, like, I knew, like, okay, it's time for me to have a little therapy tune-up. I'm going to go work through some of these issues and have somebody be a sounding board for me, so that I can work through this and gain a healthier perspective. Whereas Andrea from 12 years ago would have just shoved it down and tried to cope with it, and then it would have come out as some other physical symptom in my body, right? And instead of getting frustrated in this season with, like, why is my body responding this way? Why am I all of a sudden having these, like, emotional flashbacks? I knew immediately what they were, and I was able to care for myself in a way that actually lended to healing. And I think as women, especially, if you are a female and you're listening to this podcast, it's so easy for us to diminish what we're walking through. It's so easy for us to just brush it off and say, I'm just going to push through. But when we're on a lifelong healing journey, it's much more like learning how to breathe through the contractions and relax like we have to do in labor. It's a lot more like learning to lean into pain instead of avoiding it. And this is something that I teach my hormone clients as well. Like, you're going to have some uncomfortable symptoms as you heal, but that's what true healing actually looks like. With real healing, you will have some pain. You will have some discomfort. You will have some frustration. But the fruit of that is always, it always gets us to that other side where we're actually more recovered than when we first came into the process. And so it's not uncommon at all with the women that I work with in hormone balancing that at a certain point, usually probably around that 8-week mark, where they come to me and they say, hey, I've got some emotional stuff I really need to work through. Is that something that you can help me with? And because that is, a huge part of the work that I do, it's a no-brainer. It's not difficult. I'm very easily able to step into that place. But I just wanted to send out kind of a note of encouragement if you're walking out a healing journey for yourself and maybe you've hit some road bumps over the last couple of months or recently, within the last year. I just want to encourage you that the same healing that you got before is available to you today. And your body is resilient. God made you resilient. He has a plan for your recovery. He has a plan for the person that you're meant to work with in this season. It does not have to be hopeless. There will be changes that have to be made. but the encouragement and the support is available to you. So if any of this resonates with you and you're recognizing that you have some physical symptoms that are not serving you, they're not serving your calling, they're keeping you back from your calling, if you have some emotional patterns that you know are hindering you from really walking in the fullness that God has for you, and you really want to uncover like what of this is emotional or spiritual or what have you, then I want to invite you to the Healthy, Healed, and Whole workshop. Again, that's this Thursday, May 25th, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. There will be a replay available for those that register. And when you register, you get access to the VIP prayer and ministry time at the end. So I hope that you join us there. I am looking forward to your breakthrough, and thank you so much